Controversial bill seeking to go ahead and reinterpret New Zealand's founding document, which establishes the rights of both the Maori and the non-Maori community in the country, has received an overwhelming defeat. The bill, which aims at redefining the terms of a treaty that British colonialists signed with the Indigenous groups more than 180 years ago, was already facing protests from the people of the Maori community.
A controversial bill seeking to redefine the New Zealand's founding treaty between Maori tribes and the British Crown was defeated in the country's parliament. The bill has been a source of significant public debate, witnessing large protests in New Zealand. People from the Maori community feared that the bill might erode the Indigenous rights of the community.
This bill hasn't been stopped. This bill has been absolutely annihilated. Mr. Speaker, Aotearoa New Zealand made it clear to our country that it does not support this bill. We are not divided, but united, with the 90% of our country's submissions saying no.
As the bill was voted down by 112 votes to 11 on Thursday, lawmakers from both sides of the House sang a Maori song in celebration. However, ACT leader David Seymour vowed to continue pursuing the issue, claiming that the current law gives special rights to Maori community as compared to others in New Zealand.
Well, the truth is that we are all equal deep down, but too many of our policies aim to treat people differently based on their ancestry. This is why we have to remove that idea that New Zealanders have different rights and are ranked by the arrival of their ancestors.
Meanwhile, Maori Crown Relations Minister Tama Potaka hailed Thursday as cremation day for the bill.
In Brussels, a significant gathering of defense leaders is underway, with around 30 countries coming together under the joint leadership of Britain and France. The high-stakes NATO meeting aims to chart a future course for Ukraine, particularly in the event of a peace deal with Russia. Notably, the US has chosen to sit this one out, raising concerns over Europe's ability to act independently. Here's more on the high-level talks going on in Brussels.
Defense ministers and chiefs from around 30 countries congregated in Brussels for a meeting convened by France and Britain to discuss the future of war in Ukraine. The ministers gathered to press ahead with plans to deploy troops to Ukraine to police any further peace agreement with Russia. The meeting, that comprised of the coalition of the willing members, follows after senior officials from Britain and Paris made a visit to Kyiv.
Together, we're stepping up as one, ready to secure Ukraine's future following any peace deal. We advance the momentum of that planning here today, planning to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position to protect its sovereignty and to deter any further Russian aggression. And while today's discussions will be private, our planning is real and substantial. Our plans are well developed, and we have clear objectives for Ukraine.
However, like the usual norm, the coalition meet was skipped by the US. And while the coalition has been attempting to flesh out a deal on its own, the ultimate success lies on the hinges of support from the US, be it air power or military assistance. Such meeting serves as a litmus test for the coalition or the Europe as a whole to gauge the continent's willingness to defend itself and its interests.
And we will focus on how operational planning of the coalition could work and how we make sure that we're fully prepared for the moment a peace agreement is reached. But we cannot jeopardize the peace by forgetting about the war. And the daily reality for millions of Ukrainians continues.
Building a strong enough military to act as a real deterrent is difficult for countries that cut their forces after the Cold War. Countries are now reluctant to contribute personnel strong enough with up to 30,000 troops without US support. Later this week, another 50-member meeting is set to place, with the notable absence of US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
A political firestorm has erupted after the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has now acknowledged to a protester's claim about the war in Gaza during a campaign rally. Carney's remarks have now drawn a fierce backlash from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is now demanding a retraction of his words. Keep watching our report to know more.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has slammed Canadian PM Mark Carney over his recent acknowledgements on the war in Gaza. It all started when a protester in a Carney rally yelled Israel was carrying a genocide in Gaza. To this, the unseemingly aware Carney responded by saying that he is aware.
Mr. Carney, there's a genocide happening in
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. I'm aware, which is why we have an arms embargo.
Carney even further acknowledged that being the reason of Canada imposing an arms embargo on Israel. However, later Carney even justified himself, saying that he missed to hear out the word genocide while acknowledging to what the protester yelled. Meanwhile, an infuriated Netanyahu went all out on Carney in a strongly worded social media post, condemning him for his stance against Israel that finds itself in a war with Hamas in Gaza. Netanyahu has now asked Carney to backtrack his statement. As a new diplomatic fallout unfolds between Tel Aviv and Ottawa, how Carney clears out himself on this remains to be seen.